Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This will be a layout update for January 2018. Quite a bit's been going on down here, so I'll jump right into it and take a look at what's new on the layout. So you might have noticed in the intro there, I did finish most of the edging around the CP Points West reverse loop here. I'm not going to go too far into detail. I'm going to cover that in a different video. Quite a few people are asking about it, so I think I'll just cover it in a different video how I did it. It's almost done. I just got a few more pieces of the acrylic sheet there to cut and put on, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Like you can barely tell that there's a piece of plexiglass here around the edge, and the edging on the bottom with the dado cut in it is done all the way around the reverse loop. While we're over here on the CN side, you'll notice it got a lot darker on this side. And that's because a lot of the drywall is finished over on the CP side of the layout, including the back wall here. I left this section out. I haven't done that yet because I need to completely finish laying the track, getting the terrain, and doing the scenery in this section here before I drywall it off, because it'll be hard to access from the other side. Speaking of that terrain there, I've cut the first piece of terrain for the layout. I was working on that last week. Just some of the scrap foam that I have. This is going to go into this section here. It fits along in here. So what I'm doing is I just set a uncut piece of foam on top, and then I use a Sharpie underneath to draw the profile of the roadbed that I need to cut out. And then I just cut it with this little hacksaw that I got. It's working pretty well so far. It's an easy way to get a perfect fit in there. And then I'm going to use the same stuff that Ken Patterson uses, that foam spray, or it's kind of like an insulation. I'm going to use that to secure it underneath to the roadbed. To cut the foam, if you remember my old layout, I got one of those hot foam knives. You can see this is leftover from my old layout. And it was just a nightmare to cut foam with. It burnt it like crazy and created all kinds of smoke. It was just terrible. So what I did was I got one of these little 12-volt Milwaukee hacksaws, put a longer metal blade on it, and it works awesome for cutting foam. Get the smaller teeth, because then it doesn't make as much dust or rip the foam as bad. But it can cut slow too. So you can just slowly work your way through a piece of foam. And it cuts it like super slick. So that's how I'm going to be doing the majority of the terrain on my layout, is with this little hacksaw. Our little guy has really taken to Lego, the small Lego, recently. And him and I have been building different stuff. And the other day, we were building a building, and I started thinking that Lego would actually be a good way to build the frame if you're going to scratch build a structure. I've been thinking for a long time how I'm going to build this BAMP station structure, because it's a really big building. It's about 4 feet long by about 9 inches in HO scale, and if you've ever built, it has quite a few of these jut outs you can see here. And if you've ever scratch built something out of styrene, you know just making a box out of styrene to start with is a pain in the butt. And with Lego, you can vary the sizes any way you want, and that can give you a good base to start with for scratch building. So I think I might use Lego or maybe even Megabloks or something. Maybe you could find some on Kijiji and use that to build the frame to start to get the basic frame started for scratch building. Took me about an hour to build this with his help. This would be approximately the height you need to get to the bottom wall, and then after that it's roof. So I think it would be a really great way to start with that. Like, I couldn't believe how fast you can make this frame. And this is made using the measurements I took off of Google Earth of the station, but it's pretty close to the accurate size in HO scale. So that's just an idea. If you need to scratch build something and you don't feel like using styrene to build the base of it, Lego or Megabloks could be an option. Another thing over here on the CN side that I've been doing is making a really enormous mess, cutting up an old Christmas tree that I got, and I use these little clippers to cut off all the branches. Probably got 2/3 of the tree cut up now. And I'll show you here how many branches that made. So that's a pretty big garbage bag, and it's packed full of these fake Christmas tree branches. I probably won't use these for foreground trees on the layout, but I think in the background where you have spaces where there's lots of trees, you know, like a foot or 2 feet deep, I think these would do well for filling in the canopy in the background. These are some of the ones I made, those little stands last year to put around the Christmas tree at Christmas time when we have the train running around. And you know, when these are unpainted, I did nothing but except cut the bottom branches off them, so they don't look too bad. I think if you painted them dark, they could pass as Rocky Mountain coniferous trees. So that's pretty much it for the CN side. So now we'll duck under the plastic sheeting here, go over to the CP side, which is in quite a mess right now, but we'll take a look at how the drywall is progressing. So this is the other CP reverse loop here, and drywall is all done on the back of this, and the side walls, the ceiling's all done. I wanted to get that all finished so that I could start laying track on this reverse loop. So as we pan around here, this is looking down what would be Banff Yard. The ceiling is 100% finished with like 3 coats of mud, primed it a couple times, and the backdrop is just sanded, mudded, and then just primed once, just to kind of even it out. Eventually it'll just be a photo backdrop going on there, so I wasn't too concerned about how fancy the drywall looked. I left this little cove undrywalled here because I'm going to keep my miter saw set up here, and cutting wood and stuff, there's no point in finishing the behind that right now. Just about completed the drywall. There's just a few more touch-ups we need to do, just around the pot lights, some little finishing here and there. This is the end of Banff Yard here on this side, and over here on the divide where the crossovers are, right about here, we really tried to get the backdrop as smooth as possible, and we did curves just about everywhere. Like even right here there was probably a 15-degree kind of kink in the wall, and we used flexible drywall, and you can probably just barely see it up there. We used the flexible drywall to create a curve there and smooth out those sharp angles, so that when I go to put the photo backdrop on there, you can do a continuous roll along the whole side of this backdrop. And we did a nice curve around this corner as well. You can see it in the up in the roof line there. We used flexible drywall, curved right around that corner. Over here on this back wall, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. So I ended up building a couple curved frames to go in the corners here. I'll throw a quick picture so you can kind of see what it looked like. So that allowed us to use the 1/4-inch flexible drywall and 2 sheets of it to curve right around those to get rid of the 90-degree angles there, and that'll allow a flowing photo backdrop to go right through that whole area. And you can see how nice those curves look up on the roof line there. Really happy with the way that turned out. So looking the other way on the layout, Marant's curve here. I gave up on my dream of having a curved section here. It was just too tight. For the flexible drywall, you can wet it, but still the minimum radius you can bend it around is 20 inch, which is pretty tight. And even 20 inches pushing it. My tightest one we did here was 23 inches. And it was pretty tough to get it into that curve. So I just ended up making this straight, and we put a corner bead on it to kind of make it sharp there. So the two photo backdrops will just end here at this sharp point. So you can see there, we got a nice rounded corner there where the benchwork bends. And the back wall, I think I'll just have to make it its own, it'll just have to be its own photo backdrop, kind of standalone there on it. You can see where the feeders for the layout lighting are hanging down. So now that the drywall is almost done, once the ceiling's finished, I can get going on the lighting valence, and those are the feeders for where the LED strip lights will take off from. So as soon as I get the drywall finished up, I'm going to go ahead with the layout lighting like I was talking about. And for the valence, I've got all the pieces here. My dad was here visiting at Christmas time, and I put him to work, and we cut, I don't know how many is there, there's a whole bunch. The lighting valence is all 1/4 inch hardboard. And I elected to make it 15 7/8 wide and 8 feet long. That way there was no waste when cutting up a 4x8 sheet. So I don't know, I've got about, there's gotta be over 20 of them there. Basically all the pieces I need to do the valence for the entire layout. So that'll be what's coming up next. So that'll wrap up this layout update, guys. Gonna keep going here, probably maybe 2 more days of drywall, and then I'll be moving on to the lighting. So pretty excited about that. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.